Hello, friends. This is Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today's October 30th, 2025. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday edition of Weaponized News. Wow. Happy government shutdown day number 30. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's the government. It sucks. You don't hate the government enough. You don't hate the government enough. I mean, honestly, we got reports of government wrongdoings. They busted this guy. Where was it? Some staffer for the governor over there in Massachusetts, I believe. I don't want to get the reporting wrong. Anyway, we got reports of they're busting the government. Government busting government, right? It's beyond ridiculous. They've shut down now JFK Airport in New York, apparently. The FDA's put out a warning. FAA issues ground stop of the JFK Airport after, quote, aircraft emergency. As we've been warning here at Weaponized News, if at all possible, do not travel on commercial air flights during this time. So we got the back and forth. Chuck Schumer says Donald Trump is weaponizing hunger. Taking a page out of Aardvark Land's book there. Siege. Now they're running a siege on the American people. We got all this fallout, martial law, police state, scientific dictatorship, technocracy. They're rolling it all out here today for us. Ice Barbie says they will continue illegal immigration raids even on Halloween. We'll go over that reporting for you. And then again, I want to go over this again. Here it is. This is a government website, safedc.gov, and it's literally the boot stomping on your face. And it's just quite shocking. I guess I shouldn't be shocked, but damn, man, the tyranny's naked. MAGA loves it and cheers it on. Damn, man. And more of this reporting now from about the readying of National Guard troops. Are we going to see the food riots? According to these reports, they're not quite ready yet. I think they are ready. And this whole thing's engineered, as we're now 2 days away, Saturday, November 1st, when the SNAP benefits are not issued. Are we going to see these food riots? I don't know. They're threatening all over the internet that they're going to go do that. That is SNAP beneficiaries. We'll go over more of that reporting today. Why are we trying to do regime change there in Venezuela? More of this reporting. The insane military buildup in the Caribbean. And apparently we have a trade deal with China. No details. I haven't seen any paperwork officially about it or the actual document or anything like this. We have rhetoric from Trump, but allegedly, well, we do know they had a meeting, Xi Jinping and Trump. As far as any documents behind it, all we have is rhetoric right now and video of said meeting. So we're still waiting on the actual documents to see what all of it amounts to. But apparently, well, we'll get to that reporting when we get to it during the show. What else do we got? We got the scientific outlook summary breakdown from Peter Duke at the Duke Report. Of course, that's the famous, which I beat our audience over the head with. For those, I'm surprised we probably lost quite a few. I know Fat Bob was complaining, but I played those, endlessly summaries and readings from the works of Lord Bertrand Russell and Sir Julian Huxley as for those that are regular listeners of the show, because that's the background, you see, their work, Russell and Huxley's work, is the background to understand scientific dictatorship, technocracy, you see. And so all of this is building to give you the background history, to lay it all out, how they're Malthusian eugenicists, all this. And they yearn for this scientific dictatorship, total control, you see. And so it's the same mindset, but we did it for, like, I don't even remember, a week, 2 weeks, a while, playing those videos of the readings of it to show you what a freaking nightmare. And it's all public, it ain't no secret. You know what I mean? But just nobody seems to notice or care. These are the big brains behind the policies we're seeing being implemented today. So anyhow, we have a great mashup from Peter Duke at the Duke Report about the scientific outlook that we'll go over, because that is the background we need to understand where all of this stuff is coming from today. Reportedly, there's been a giant attack there in Ukraine. Russian state TV is reporting widespread blackouts in Ukraine. Trump escalating the nuclear threat, talking about we're going to go ahead and keep testing nuclear weapons. And of course, aardvark land genocide continues. There's a ceasefire, but they're shelling Gaza. You know what I mean? So never trust a sneaky aardvark, because all they do is lie. And with that, a whole lot of reporting on that. Let's get to this day in history for you on this October 30th. Let's take a look. What do we have? Where am I at here? All right. Got my tab straight. Okay. On this day of October 30th, going back to the year 1697, the Holy Roman Empire joins England, Spain, and the Dutch Republic to sign the Treaty of Reichswijk with France, ending the 9 Years' War on this day. In 1739, Great Britain declares a war on Spain, War of Jenkins' Ear, on this day. 1866, on this day, Jesse James gang robs bank in Lexington, Missouri for $2,000. In 1873, on this day, the greatest show on earth, before they politicized everything in our culture and made it political, we had to go to an actual circus, you know, where they had clowns and animals and all this. So the greatest show on earth in 1873, P.T. Barnum's Circus, debuts in New York City. Now we just watch Congress. In 1888, John J. Loud patents the ballpoint pen. I prefer pencils, actually, but I'm a nerd like that. I prefer pencils. Sometimes you have to use pens, but okay. And then talk about a hoax psyop. On this day in 1938, a radio broadcast of H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds, narrated by Orson Welles, allegedly causes mass panic. And so think of what they did there in 1938, claiming we're being invaded by aliens. War of the Worlds broadcast, just with radio, right? Radio listeners in panic, taking war drama as fact. Many flee homes to escape. That's out of the New York Times reporting on it back in 1938. So if they got everybody duped with that hoax, imagine what they're doing today. And that was just a radio broadcast. War of the Worlds, 1938. In 1945, U.S. government announces an end of shoe rationing on this day. In 1952, Clarence Birdseye sells his first frozen peas. In 2017, Trump advisors indicted. In 2017, President Trump's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, and associate Rick Gates are indicted on fraud charges. Advisor George Papadopoulos pleads guilty to lying to the FBI. And in 2023, Bibi, shadow president of America, rejects Hamas's call for ceasefire, saying this is a time for war. Don't we know it? It's time for genocide. And also on this day in 2023, we saw whoever it was, I guess the auto pen, somebody, probably a robot, I don't know. But we saw allegedly then U.S. President Joe Biden signed the country's first AI executive order with directives for U.S. federal agencies' use of AI. And so was it any of it even real? I don't know. And on this day in our civil liberties history, let's take a look at Oklahoma in 1970. We go back to 1970 on this day of October 30th. It was reported on this day that the state of Oklahoma maintained a secret list of, quote, political troublemakers, which contained 6,000 names. About 2,000 were Oklahoma residents, while the others were national figures such as African-American activist Angela Davis. Some people on the list were reportedly denied employment as teachers and for other jobs. The government denied that there was such a blacklist, but admitted to, quote, intelligence files, which were shared with law enforcement agencies. A lawsuit was filed challenging the existence of the list. The most famous blacklist in American history was the Hollywood blacklist, which began in 1947, involving actors, writers, directors, and others who were or were suspected of being communists. President Truman's loyalty program included the Attorney General's list of subversive organizations, which resulted in the blacklisting of people associated with organizations that were listed. What the hell? They're commies, but the problem is the government points the finger at you. That's what I got a comment from saying, hey, we should be concerned about these extrajudicial assassinations. And I guess they're just trolls, bots, I don't know. And so I put out a little clip of that as we've been reporting, and I get some idiot come along. Well, thank you, President Trump, for standing up for Americans. I'm like, did you even watch the video? The problem is they get the guys you don't like, but they point the finger back at you sooner or later. That's why we have rule of law, due process. We go over it continually here. A fact lost apparently on MAGA bots on the internet. Interesting development there. And in 1973, on this day of October 30th, Cover Your Ears, George Carlin's 7 Dirty Words broadcast on Pacifica radio station WBAI in New York City. Broadcast comedian George Carlin's monologue with the soon-to-be famous 7 Dirty Words at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on this day. In case you were wondering, the 7 words are, cover your words, parental advisory. The 7 words are shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits. Out of them all, I don't know. Tits, piss, shit. They say those on regular TV now. Anyhow, and if you want to read them, the words and several other words generally considered offensive to most people appear in the appendix to court's opinion in the decision FCC versus Pacifica Foundation 1978. So, pardon my words there, just reporting here. The original monologue, 7 words you can never say on television, is on the 1972 George Carlin record, Class Clown. A longer follow-up, Filthy Words, is on Carlin's next record, Occupation Fool, in 1973. The transcripts are readily available on the internet. If you may wish to look into the words you can't say on the television. All right, and that's this day in our civil liberties. Where's our segue? Well, the government shut down, but the show must go on. You see, at the White House, they are celebrating Halloween a day early. Here is footage from the White House with Mr. King, Donald Trump, and his wife, allegedly, Melania, handing out candy one day early. So lovely. The show goes on there at the White House. Here's they even put flashback up there. They're still handing out GMO candy, so you don't worry about that. Keeping everybody safe. Maha. I don't know if they're handing it out, but they're posting photos of it. Here's an image from the White House. Hershey's GMO candy. Be warned. Feed your kids walnuts so they hate you on Halloween, right? Right. Okay. Here's Trump. This is a good one, I must admit. The White House Post. President Trump, former McDonald's worker himself, greets new drive-through employees at the White House. This is a good costume. So it's all cute and warm and fuzzy. Trump saying, no, we need to escalate nuclear weapons testing. We'll get to that reporting. Okay, on to the government shutdown. Happy day number 30 of government shutdown. The FAA issued ground stop orders at JFK Airport in New York City. So I don't know if this necessarily has, they're claiming due to aircraft emergency. So I don't know if this is directly related to the government shutdown. 30 days of Democrat shutdown, but the memes are still coming out of the White House. There you go. There you go. Soon again, head Republican in the Senate says, if there are any Democrats out there who care about the damage this shutdown is doing, then I have a bill at the desk. A clean, nonpartisan continuing resolution to fund WIC, SNAP, troop pay, air traffic controllers pay, farm programs, housing assistance, national defense, and more. Let's hear him cry about it for a second.
Democrats are grasping at straws these days. The other day, the Democrat leader came to the floor and tried to reboot the notion that the clean CR sitting before us here in the Senate is a partisan CR. Yep. Apparently a bill with no partisan add-ons, strictly a bill to fund the government, is a partisan bill. Only in Democrat land.
Sounds partisan to me. Okay, what else do we got? They're coming out with, here's Chuck Schumer, strong words from base Chuck Schumer now. He says Donald Trump is weaponizing hunger. Almost like he's working, following the lead of Aardvarkland with now running a siege against the American people.
The first time in history, a president, Donald Trump, is refusing to fund SNAP during a shutdown. 42 million Americans, hungry children, middle-class families who someone's lost the job, veterans, senior citizens who struggle to pay for their food. All of these people will lose their SNAP benefits, not because the money's gone, not because it's not permitted, because Donald Trump ordered it stopped. Donald Trump is a vindictive politician and a heartless man. Let's be clear, this does not need to happen. Never before, under any president, Democrat or Republican, has SNAP been cut off in a shutdown, and Trump knows he can do it. Here's what he said. Yeah, everybody is going to be in good shape. Yup. Donald Trump, when asked if he would fund SNAP next month, that's what he said this October. But then all of a sudden, seeing how badly they're losing on health care, he decided to use these 42 million innocent Americans as pawns. Just a few weeks ago, Trump's own U.S. Department of Agriculture confirmed it had $6 billion in emergency funding to keep food aid flowing. When asked about SNAP at that point, here's what he said. Yep, everybody's going to be in good shape. That means he's got the money, folks. And these Republican lies, plain and simple, that they don't have the money, are lies. But they're vicious lies. Well, Trump is weaponizing hunger. He's turning millions of children and seniors and veterans into political pawns. Lies. But they're vicious lies. Well, Trump is weaponizing hunger. Lies. Well, Trump is weaponizing hunger. Lies. Well, Trump is weaponizing hunger. He's turning millions.
Okay, there's about enough for Chuck Schumer. Trump's weaponizing hunger, you see. And so Democrats say Republicans are lying. Republicans say Democrats lying. Your entire government's lying to you. Republicans are weaponizing hunger, plain and simple. Chuck Schumer. Trump is lying and manufacturing a hunger crisis. That's what Chuck Schumer says. Apparently, no president in history has cut off SNAP during a shutdown, including Trump in his first term. Trump is using Americans as hostages. I wonder where he learned these tactics from. I don't know, maybe our real president, Bibi? Amidst spectacular successes overseas, Chuck Schumer is doing what he does best, lie. So the White House says Chuck Schumer's lying. Chuck Schumer says the White House is lying. I got news for you. The entire government is lying to us. Here's a post by the White House. Worked really hard, 24/7, took in trillions of dollars, and Chuck Schumer said trip was, quote, a total dud, even though he knows it was a spectacular success. Words like that are almost treasonous. Again, bring back pistol duels so these fools can stop this inflammatory rhetoric and go handle it like men used to. They won't, because they're all weak cowards. Just fund the government, the White House says. Here you go. Just fund the government, Democrats. Really? And then here's Christian Zionist Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, crying about it. Let's hear his cries.
They are the ones that have voted now, between the House and the Senate, 14 times to close the government and impose all this pain on the American people. It's the Republicans who have voted over and over to keep the government open. I think there is a break coming. I think the dynamic will change. I certainly hope so. We pray that's true. That the Democrats will be able to continue to feel the pressure from the American people, from all these voices, even in the moderate and center left, like the unions, who are saying, please do the right thing. Stop playing games. You're hurting real Americans, and break that impasse. We're appealing to whatever moderate and centrist Democrats are left in the Senate to do the right thing, put the politics aside, do the right thing for the people so we can get about our work here.
Nope, leave it closed. So they had a big meeting of the air travel industry with Vice President Vance and Duffy. They say, open the government, stop this craziness, and open the government. Not very based. But hey, they're still finding times, even when they feign outrage about how much they care about the American people and those missing paychecks, they've still found time to troll with memes. You see, here's your head of NASA and Transportation Secretary Duffy posted this. We all know the guys who did this. Really? That's what they're posting. California food banks brace for a surge in demand as SNAP runs out of money. Let's watch this report.
The disruption of CalFresh benefits
I see ground beef custard, yeah.
has food banks across the state bracing for a surge in need.
There's unfortunately tough decisions that need to be made on a daily basis. I think there's a misconception that people that go to food banks are people that aren't working, and that is not true. These are working class individuals just like us that really just need that extra help to get through these times.
3 piece?
Yes.
In response, the Yolo Food Bank is adding emergency food distributions in Woodland, West Sacramento, and UC Davis for the first 2 weeks of November.
We know that about 40% of CalFresh recipients also use other charitable food resources. So whether it's our food bank or any of our 47 partners that also distribute food throughout the county.
The Yuba Sutter Food Bank is also adding at least one extra distribution next week. And as November 1st nears, food banks across the region are counting on large donors to help fill the gap.
We do a lot of grocery recovery here at YOLO Food Bank. About 75% of our food comes from local grocery stores.
The Sacramento Food Bank and Family Services has significantly increased their food orders in anticipation of the surge in demand. They're also working to determine if any of their 110 partner agencies will have the capacity to expand their distribution days.
Where are we at here? Let's keep going. This via Ruckus, thank you very much. He sent this earlier, or tagged me on a post on the X earlier today with this report about recreation. CBS is warning us that the, quote, government shutdown is enabling Americans to do what they want to do peacefully in national parks. Let's watch this report. I know, God forbid, we need that boot of tyranny on your neck to keep you safe.
Never seen that before.
It's an unusual sight because base jumping in national parks is illegal. Charles Winstead captured this video while climbing Yosemite's 3,000-foot-high El Capitan, and it's just some of the unlawful behavior he's seen here recently.
car camping, base jumping, drone activities. From what I hear, people are hiking Half Dome without permits.
Even with the federal government shut down, national parks are still wide open, but most of the staff is furloughed, which may embolden thrill seekers.
Wow.
Right in the middle of the meadow.
We started seeing people base jumping, and not the typical crack of dawn, do it quick and then run away, but middle of the day and just walking off without any concerns.
Here at El Capitan, climbers worry about the danger of drones and base jumpers above them.
I've definitely been climbing and had base jumpers like fly past me.
What's that like?
It's scary. It's like really loud, like incredibly loud.
Robbie Brown didn't see any base jumpers this trip, but he did see emergency services.
They did a rescue the other day. There were some people who got hurt, which is fairly regular.
So those sorts of activities are still going on?
Oh yeah. Like people are still rock climbing and having a great season.
The warm fall weather and no admission fees are attracting plenty of visitors, including Yosemite regular Tom Evans, who's been photographing climbers here for decades.
There's nobody manning the gates, so people come in all the time now since it's free. The employees that they need to run this, they've all been sent away.
The National Park Service told CBS News rangers are still patrolling high-use areas, but their priority is keeping everyone safe and protecting the environment, and now hoping all visitors will be on their best behavior. Carter Evans.
The government can't and won't keep you safe and hates you living your life. Base Chuck Schumer meme here. Every day gets better for us. Chuck Schumer. But yet there's more. Get out there and ravage. Woman out of food stamps shows off stolen goods, urges others to steal at will and infiltrate churches for cash. And there's these posts all over the internet of these idiot people saying they're going to go commit these crimes. Here's one bragging about what she stole. Apparently they have a large following. So woman says, if y'all gonna steal, let me know. I can join y'all. If EBT gets canceled, we're 2 days out here now. Man says people should steal whether or not their EBT gets cut off. Stealing's never wrong. Anyone considering stealing groceries better listen carefully. And then this old dude warning them. Well, it's a violation of natural law. And so it's immoral to steal. And so don't steal, obviously. But is there going to be food riots? We're going to see in about 2 days here now. All these idiots making videos saying they're all about it, which makes no damn sense. But that's the level we're at here now. Hi, as we await. But don't you worry. Don't you worry. The National Guard is training up for civil domestic disturbances. Let's hear from Ice Barbie here now. This seems extreme. She says, Ice Barbie tells us that President Trump and I stand with the brave men and women of ICE who are now facing an 8,000% increase in death threats against them. Where do they get this? They're literally just making up percentages here. Really? 8,000% increase in death threats? Let's hear from Ice Barbie here. 8,000% increase in death threats. Really? They're just making shit up as per usual.
By what Mayor Johnson's doing, by what Governor Pritzker is doing, it's endangering lives, and they need to stop. They need to stop because there's consequences to it. Their words have consequences, and we're seeing that. An 8,000% increase in death threats against law enforcement, that's horrific. That shouldn't be happening in America.
Really? Ruckus says, how much you want to bet that what percentage of black people threatening to steal our deep fakes? It may very well be. It may very well be, because you got to be a damn stupid criminal. I'm not saying they're smart, but man. And then the back and forth here between the federal government and the states, as they're the all-seeing eye, a big brother of the federal government is right on Illinois right now. And very harsh rhetoric between the government here now.
Madam Secretary, I care to respond to the governor.
He's just not telling the truth. He's lying, and it's hard to fight constant lies and attacks from this.
And that's talking about Pritzker, governor of Illinois. Somebody's lying. The entire government's lying to you, okay? Well, more on that. But here, hey, the government shut down. They still put out these high production value propaganda videos. Maybe not this one. A couple of them are. And, don't worry, Southcom's putting out war propaganda we'll get to. Here is maximizing deterrence through an unprecedented response out of the Coast Guard. So our southern border appears to be fully militarized now. And is it to keep the illegals out or to keep us in, or a combination of both, it feels like to me? So how to cross the Rio Grande River there undetected? You don't. You don't is what they're telling us. Here's the Department of Homeland Security. There will be no sanctuary for creatures and criminals of the night.
Is very strange to me.
And I don't think we can play that music, so we're just going to mute it there. You can see this pretty high production value out of the Department of Homeland Security during the shutdown. We still seem to find a budget for propaganda. Yeah. Sorry, I'm sure the audio would help, but due to copyright issues. Okay. Back to this again. I'm dumbfounded. I guess I'm just dumb. I'm dumbfounded by it. But here's Trump, back to blue, MAGA, and wear your "Don't Tread on Me" hat and say that you're, anti-establishment. For all great law enforcement patriots who would like to join the world's premier law enforcement task force, where police officers are fully allowed and empowered to do their job and battle crime, apply today to join the Make DC Safe Task Force. You will be at the cutting edge of defending our nation's capital from all dangers and threats, and will be able to join the elite agency of your choice. If you have strong experience, you can begin on the task force immediately. And that's this. Literally the boot of tyranny stomping on the face of humanity. And that's part of safedc.gov website that they launched yesterday. It's just truly incredible here now. But this still has me dumbfounded that they would find this appropriate right here. They're literally telling you this is tyrannical police force stomping on your face, man. Damn, dude. I guess nothing should surprise me. More from Pritzker. Again, the Spider-Man meme. Pritzker says that the feds are lying. The feds say that he's lying. I got news for you. They're all lying.
Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, and Kristi Noem have said they want to target the worst of the worst. They have not done that. They're attacking peaceful neighborhoods and terrorizing kids in Halloween parades.
Madam Secretary, I care to respond to the governor.
He's just not telling the truth. He's lying. And
well, there was the context of the earlier clip that we played, her response. Well, somebody's lying. They're all lying. Ice Barbie, Kristi Noem dog killer lady, rejects Pritzker's request to pause ICE operations for Halloween. Pritzker's Halloween request, first obtained by the Chicago Sun-Times, came 4 days after ICE agents fired tear gas in the Old Irving Park neighborhood as families and children walked to a Halloween parade. That's Chicago Sun-Times, so I guess they're lying fake news too, according to the feds, right? Right. All right. Ice Barbie, yesterday we played those clips. Here's witches. Witches now on TikTok are witches are out protesting Noem. Can we get audio on this? Let's see. There's the audio. Here's witches protesting Ice Barbie. So there you go. Witches against fascism. I don't know, man. Here's the answer to that. safetyc.gov. Become a thug for the feds. And you too can stomp on the face of humanity. And this is the report that it was the Wall Street Journal yesterday, but now in the summer, it was the Washington Compost warning us here now. They're reissuing that warning. And so we're going to go over it again. We reported on the Wall Street Journal yesterday, but here it is again. Pentagon readying thousands of guard reaction forces as U.S. mission widens. And MAGA will cheer on military in the streets of America because they love tyranny, apparently, and they believe any lie the government tells them. The Pentagon has ordered thousands of specialized National Guard personnel to complete civil unrest mission training over the next several months, an indication that the Trump administration's effort to send uniformed military forces into urban centers, once reserved for extraordinary emergencies, could become the norm. Well, it isn't. It's an extraordinary crime emergency, Trump has told us. They got this wrong in the article. The War Department's newly established Quick Reaction Force within the National Guard must be trained, equipped with riot control gear and ready for deployment by January 1st, according to internal documents that the Post got. The 200 troops will be drawn from the National Guard personnel whose primary focus is responding to disasters like nuclear accidents and terroristic acts, the document said. An existing separate but similar structure, the National Guard Reaction Force is expected to complete civil unrest training and be fully operational by April 1st. The total size of the force will be 23,500 troops across all 50 states and 3 territories, excluding the District of Columbia. The document said most states will supply 500 personnel for the reaction force, with the rest falling between 250 and 450. Those forces are typically used for emergencies like disaster relief, not on-call troops for civil unrest. So they're gearing up. This is from the National Guard fact sheet about it. Here's the White House. Was this an executive order? I believe this is an executive order declaring a crime emergency. Additional measures to address the crime emergency in the District of Columbia. And they're going to extrapolate this out to the rest of the country, you see, is exactly what is going on here with this as the end game for your face. See what these tyrannical maniacs are doing? But it's keeping us safe, so I guess we shouldn't complain. National Guard mobilization. The Pentagon is readying thousands of National Guard reaction forces for rapid response as U.S. missions widen, emphasizing support for emerging threats without detailed specifics on deployment. What do we got here? Official relocations to military bases. At least 6 senior Trump officials, including Stephen Miller and Pete Hegseth, have moved to military housing for security, straining resources and blurring civilian military lines. Protests against Miller. Activists target Stephen Miller's home with, quote, wanted posters and chalk messages accusing him of destroying democracy, leading to his family's relocation after an unsettling encounter. So now they're all housing up on military bases. Feels like they're gearing up here, man. I mean, all signs point to they're gearing up to drop the freaking boot on our face here. All in the name of a crime emergency, dare I say. And continuing here, Charlie Kirk's assassination impact. The September 2025 murder of Charlie Kirk escalated security concerns, prompting the designation of Antifa as a terrorist group and accelerating official moves to bases. Naval research leadership change. Trump replaced experienced Rear Admiral Kirk Rothenhaus with 33-year-old Rachel Riley, a Doge affiliate, lacking naval expertise, in a move criticized for prioritizing loyalty over qualifications. Caribbean drug strikes. U.S. military conducted 14 strikes on smuggling boats, killing at least 57 without needing positive ID, focusing on cocaine and fentanyl as being the driving force for these, quote, Caribbean drug strikes. Lack of target identification. The Department of War confirms that they are not requiring a positive identity of the individuals hit in the strikes. They don't even know who the F they're killing here now. They're just bad drug traffickers who are told by the government. That's the point. They can say you and I at any time are the bad guys and freaking whack us. That's what can idiot MAGA wrap their mind around this. They just can't. They say Trump's keeping me safe. That's what they say. It's like, are these real people? Are they really this stupid? They got to be trolls and bots, right? Just, I want to believe that people are not this stupid. Apparently they are. Partisan briefing exclusion. Democrats were barred from a Senate briefing on justification for the strikes. There now, the extrajudicial assassinations that we're told to believe are just these dirty drug traffickers, and don't you worry about it. Even though they admit, as the Department of War, they can't even positively identify who they assassinated. Military buildup and tensions amid strikes killing nationals from Venezuela, Colombia, and Ecuador. The United States is building up forces in the Caribbean. Yeah, as we continue to report here now, looking like some type of military action is going to happen here soon in Venezuela and the rest of South America, potentially Colombia and Ecuador. And what the hell, while we're at it, might as well take Guyana too. They got a bunch of natural resources there. And right off the coast, that whole area. It's to keep us safe from drugs, you see, nothing to do with their oil, natural gas, other resources, gold, nothing to do with any of that. Here's Rand Paul on the drug boat strikes, calling them insane. It is insane when you can't even identify who the hell the people are. Just know the government says they're bad, and that should be good enough for us, right?
Where they had flashcards, and they'd go through the flashcards and pick people on the flashcards. This included an American citizen and the American citizen's 2 children. And I think nobody really made the allegation that any of them were carrying arms. They were sympathetic to terrorists. They had ideas that most civilized people disagreed with, but at the same time, they weren't in the middle of combat or engaged in combat. But the reason it's important is because we seem to have different standards. You know, when a Democrats in charge, Republicans, some were up in arms over this. Now that a Republican's doing it, Democrats are rightly up in arms against Trump, but some of them forget or are willing to forget that, you know, their hero, President Obama, was doing it as well. But you're right, that legal framework and that precedent has allowed President Trump to say, look, everybody does this. They're terrorists. And it's this sort.
There you go. Obama started it, and that's why the precedent's so dangerous. And then you can't say, well, Obama's bad, Trump's good for doing it. They're all bad for doing it because it's destroying rule of law, due process that supposedly protects us all. It don't, and they're proving it right now, you see. And then when a Democrat gets in there, they're going to assassinate somebody extrajudicially. And they say, well, Trump did it. And the Republicans are going to be screaming about it. And it's like, it falls on deaf ears, assholes, because you cheered on Trump doing it. You see how this works? Damn, man. Here's Tucker's take on, he says Maduro bans gay marriage, abortion, and sex changes. Can't seem to figure out why, quote, conservatives want to overthrow him.
So the question is why? Why are we doing this? Why are we so opposed to Nicolas Maduro? So if you ask someone on the street, random person, why are we against Nicolas Maduro? The answer you're going to get is, who's Nicolas Maduro? But if you find someone in South Florida, for example, who knows who Nicolas Maduro is, who can identify where Venezuela is on a map, that person will almost certainly say, well, because he's a communist or a socialist, he's exceedingly left-wing, and that is true. Nicolas Maduro and his government are very left-wing on economics. Not on social policy, by the way, which is kind of interesting. In Venezuela, gay marriage is banned, abortion is banned, sex changes for transgenderism are banned. It's one of the very few countries in the entire hemisphere with those policies. It is on social policy, not defending the regime, just saying, one of the most conservative countries in North or South or Central America. Only El Salvador really comes close, which is much smaller, of course. And by the way, the US-backed opposition leader who would take Maduro's place if he were taken out is, of course, pretty eager to get gay marriage in Venezuela. So to those of you who thought this whole project was globo homo, not crazy, actually.
Right here, there's Venezuela right there on our map. And right here, all kind of oil, natural gas was discovered, as we reported when Venezuela was prepping to potentially invade Guyana. And so all this right here, very nice right here. Very nice and full of natural resources, you see. Hey, the government shut down, but U.S. Southcom is still putting out very intimidating propaganda videos, I would say, for Maduro and Colombia and Ecuador or anybody else that wants to F around and find out, right? Here it is, Southcom propaganda. Jeez, dude, that's right from Southcom. They say footage of U.S. Marines conducting live fire boat operations in the Caribbean. Damn, dude. The Trump administration has cut the annual U.S. refugee cap to 7,500, down from Biden's 125,000, with most slots reportedly going to white South Africans, according to a report out of the Associated Press. Here is said White House memo on the matter of refugees. The administrations of up to 7,500 refugees to the United States during fiscal year 2026. So they are cutting back on these people claiming to be seeking political asylum, it seems. And with that, let's take our live commercial break. Shout out, before we get to that, shout out to Barry Dutton. I know he's still going through it. He's heartbroken over there with some personal matters in his life. And if you are a praying person, say a prayer for Barry, that he can get himself right. Because I know that he's going through a lot of personal issues. And so I wanted to say that. I did get your email, Barry, if you're listening to the show. You're in my thoughts and prayers, and I hope for those others out there, they will keep you in their hearts and prayers as you're going through this tough time. Okay, on to the commercial. We did have a request, and keep them coming, and I'm working on it. I almost had it sorted out, but we had a request from Snarky Guy, and I will put that design on a shirt as he had requested. So keep your requests coming, and I will try to oblige you. So I was working on it a little bit, and it didn't come out exactly how I like, so I will continue to work on it, Snarky Guy, for you, but keep your requests coming. Anyway, what we do have available now is Weaponized News stickers right here. The holograph sticker, the white background sticker, and the clear sticker. Put it on your laptop, your guitar, your bumper, your hard hat, your Cybertruck. Help support independent reporting and analysis here at Weaponized News. And then let's take a look at the store. What do we got? I've been adding quite a few items to the Weaponized News store, so you may want to go take a look. I would appreciate it, and it would your patronage helps fund this broadcast. Let's take a look. What do we got over there? As I said, I was working on that new shirt for Snarky Guy. Nothing new, brand new today, but let's just take a look and scroll through. Quite a few items. The baby beanie was new yesterday. Of course, the black Weaponized News logo on the black shirt. The camouflage Weaponized News hat. I'm still trying to sort out a hat as well. I don't know about this one. I think about removing it. Different beanies there. The long sleeve long sleeve shirt and your baby onesie, Weaponized News baby onesie. So many items over there for your enjoyment at the Weaponized News store. Go take a look. I appreciate it. And if you don't want to buy anything from the store, we take donations as well. Go to Weaponized News right on the front page there. And here's our donation button. We also, right here, secure through PayPal. And in the description below this video is our Cash App and our Buy Me a Coffee link and our Bitcoin wallet address. So any of those ways, we truly do appreciate all of the subscribers to Weaponized News, all the patrons to the store, and just flat out donations, however you may see fit to help us bringing you Weaponized News. It's truly appreciated by me. Now let's hear a word from our sponsor, and we'll be back for the second half of Weaponized News. Here's Abba Zaba Enterprises.
Running a small business feeling overwhelmed by numbers and paperwork? Abba Zaba Enterprises has your back. Our expert business solutions include accounting, QuickBooks support, payroll, taxes, and top-notch consulting. Let us handle the details so you can focus on growing your business. Business Solutions Accounting, QuickBooks, Consulting, Payroll, Taxes. Call 559-577-9250. Call Abba Zaba Enterprises today at 559-577-9250 for stress-free solutions.
And welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this Thursday, October 30th, 2025 edition. Okay, where are we at? All signs point toward this government is gearing up for martial law here in America as we await November 1st. SNAP benefits being cut off, but I think it's even bigger than that. That may be the catalyst to kick it off. But hey, Gavin Newsom will save us from the evil Republicans in the 2028 election.
What do you make of all the Patrick Bateman talk?
I don't know, but
I mean, people say that you are like American Psycho. Yeah.
Jesus, yeah. Like I said, new scum. I mean, look.
But even your friends like say this.
Oh, do they?
I'm
going to reevaluate my guest list.
I mean, there was a comedian that said a literal comic book villain from Central Casting, Patrick Bateman vibes. He definitely had someone killed or may have killed someone himself. I think he meant that in a.
I'm glad I still have some humor left. I mean, this is a rough business.
Yeah, it is.
This is a rough, particularly if you're willing to fight.
No, but all that's true, you see. All that's true. Gavin Newsom is California Psycho right out of American Psycho movie. Like right out of Central Casting. You know what I mean? Like this is true. He's literally the fictional character from American Psycho in real life, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom. And then again, the government are beyond criminal. They are the criminals here now, and they have this entitlement attitude because they work for the government. Aid to Democrat Massachusetts governor Haley busted after allegedly having 8 kilos of cocaine sent to a state office building. So he was having his large delivery. What are kilos? Like 2.2 pounds. So that's like, what, 20 pounds or something? 18 pounds of cocaine. Quite a bit of cocaine. A staffer for Democrat Massachusetts Governor Haley was hit with drug trafficking charges after authorities intercepted 8 kilograms of cocaine being delivered to a state office building. And here is the character charged here now. And so, again, he deserves due process. For all we know, he's innocent. And this is set up by whatever racist Republicans that don't like him, right? I think it probably is real because it takes a hell of a lot to bring charges against a government worker, as we've learned here now. But hey, He deserves due process, just like everybody else, a fair trial. But here he is. Here he is. Turns out Lamar Cook is his name. And yeah, here he is in court. And then here's the indictment, or the press release of the indictment. Lamar Cook, 45, drug trafficking, 8 kilograms of cocaine delivered to a government building. It was probably already in the government building. They just shifted around desks, right? I don't know. But that's crazy. Here's another crazy one. State senator charged for extortion after secretly recording critics' sex acts. Maryland Democrat Delilah Attar attempted to blackmail a consultant by recording her in bed with a married man. Low-key Epstein? Who's teaching these people? Let's take a listen to this report.
There are 2 victims in this case. The alleged activity is from January 2020 through July 2022. Now, Senator Attar, her brother Joseph, Officer Kalman Finkelstein, worked on the campaign of then Delegate Attar. The conspiracy and extortion case is about what the defendants are accused of doing to Attar's former campaign consultant, who is not named in the indictment. The second victim, a married man, is also not named, had an affair with the former consultant. The defendants allege planted a recording device in the former consultant's apartment and put a tracking device on her car. According to the indictment, the electronic devices captured romantic moments of the couple. The indictment alleges the defendants threatened to expose, blackmail the couple to silence the former consultant about Attar's voting record, to keep her from engaging in speech that could negatively impact Attar or perform any work for Attar's challengers. As for Baltimore Officer Finkelstein, we caught up with the Deputy Police Commissioner for a status report.
Under state law, you can be suspended with pay pending the investigation. Once you're charged, depending on what the charge is, under state law gives you the authority to suspend people without pay. But at this point, he's been suspended with pay, which means his police powers are suspended. He's still working. He's working an administrative role. He just can't have police powers.
As previously mentioned, Senator Attar issued a statement. The case centers on allegations of my former disgruntled employee. We have yet to see any tangible evidence to support the claim that I knew any of illegal actions taken on my behalf. Reporting live from...
Well, thankfully, Finkelstein's still getting paid, or that would have been antiseptic, you see. Big tech wields non-disclosure agreements to cloak AI data center build-outs from local communities. A review by NBC News of more than 30 data center proposals across 14 states found that companies including Google, Amazon, routinely require local officials and sometimes landowners to sign non-disclosure agreements before revealing basic details of massive AI era projects. These agreements frequently expand years beyond initial plans and can prohibit even public officials from discussing the developments. Technocracy, anybody? Oh, criminal government, anyone? In one case, a Tennessee farmer was offered $10 million for the 250-acre farm his family had called home and worked on for almost 40 years, but there was a huge caveat. The source of the offer was unclear, and one of the men claimed to be from a, quote, Fortune 100 company, was interested in the property for an industrial development, yet he would not specify the type of project, the company's identity, or even his own name. Well, see, they're honest and forthcoming. Nothing shady going on here at all. Critics argue this secrecy shields real estate acquisitions, utility commitments, environmental impacts, and community concerns from public view. Supporters say the NDAs are needed for commercial confidentiality, but the lack of transparency has left many communities in the dark, just as hundreds of new AI scale data centers multiply across the country. I don't see anything wrong with it. Technocracy should be totally hidden off from the public, and just one day, they don't even knock or give you a warning. Just you're whacked by a weaponized Terminator. And sorry we couldn't tell you because of an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. Still waiting for the details. They haven't issued any out of the White House as far as I could see. As of the beginning of this broadcast, I was still looking because I would like to see the actual paperwork on this. But allegedly, we have a trade deal now with China. So now you can get your kids those plastic doodads for Christmas that they don't need. Again, remember, you could only afford 4 with the tariffs on China. Now you can afford 30 pieces of plastic from China now, maybe, possibly. Still, we don't know all the details. Trump said in this True Social post, and then turned into a meme by the White House during the government shutdown, the best is yet to come. I had a truly great meeting with President Xi of China. There is enormous respect between our two countries, and that will only be enhanced with what just took place. We agreed to many things, with others, even of high importance, being very close to resolve. I was extremely honored by the fact that President Xi authorized China to begin the purchase of massive amounts of soybeans, sorghum, and other farm products. Our farmers will be very happy. In fact, as I said once before, during my first administration, farmers should immediately go out and buy more land and larger tractors. I would like to thank President Xi for this. Additionally, China has agreed to continue the flow of rare earth, critical minerals, magnets, etc., openly and freely. Very significantly, China has strongly stated that they will work diligently with the United States to stop the flow of fentanyl into our country. They will help us end the fentanyl crisis. China also agreed that they will begin the process of purchasing American energy. In fact, a very large-scale transaction may take place concerning the purchase of oil and gas from the great state of Alaska. Chris Wright, Doug Burgum, and our respective energy teams will be meeting to see if such a deal can be worked out. The agreements reached today will deliver prosperity and security to millions of Americans. After this historic trip to Asia, I am now heading back to Washington, D.C. I want to thank the great countries of Malaysia, Japan, South Korea for being so generous, gracious, and hospitable. Also, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam, who were at the dinner last night hosted by His Excellency Li Jiang. Hundreds of billions of dollars are being brought into our country because of them. Our nation is strong, respected, and admired again. The best is yet to come. Turns out nobody at the State Department read the white paper out of China praising global governance initiative. Or at least they haven't briefed Trump, or they don't see it fit to brief the American people on this. And China is committed to accelerating UN Agenda 2030 goals for sustainable development. We read the whole thing here at Weaponized News to you, so you're informed about what's really going on here, and not this, because your government's not going to tell you. That's for damn sure. Here's video. See if we can spy a Freemason handshake here of Trump shaking Xi's hand. I'm still arguing that all of this is a soft power transfer to the East, to China, to the global South. And Trump is helping facilitate it, selling out America along the way in a new era, in a new world order. As the reins of power of one world government shift east.
Well, thank you very much. It's a great honor to be with a friend of mine, really for a long time now, if you think about it. The very, very distinguished and respected president of China. And we will be having some discussions. I think we've already agreed to a lot of things, and we'll agree to some more right now. But President Xi is a great leader of a great country, and I think we're going to have a fantastic relationship for a long period of time.
Yeah, as they're selling America out here, acting like they care about America.
I thought it was an amazing meeting. He's a great leader of a very powerful, very strong country, China. And what can I say?
China's the model for technocracy. And all these tyrants, Trump, the rest of them, they do admire China for that reason. Really, China's going to, maybe they will. Maybe they will. They have this big demographic problem there in China due to their one-child policy. Are they going to continue to, with the GMO soybeans? Are they going to give that to their population? I don't know. That's what they're claiming here now. Do we have the numbers on that? We don't have any of the numbers really. Some of the reporting out of that meeting, Trump and Xi strike major trade deal at South Korean summit. In a landmark meeting in South Korea, it was announced a broad agreement aimed at defusing months of economic friction between the two countries, i.e. a trade war. Trump declared that the long-running dispute over rare earth minerals has been resolved, saying all of the rare earth has been settled. There is no roadblock at all on rare earths. The deal includes Beijing suspending its export restrictions on rare earths and Washington lowering its tariffs on Chinese goods, particularly those tied to fentanyl precursor dispute, from 20% to 10%, with the overall U.S. tariff burden allegedly dropping from 57% to 47%. The agreement initially for the first year and subject to annual review also covers China resuming U.S. soybean purchases and commitments to cooperate on issues such as Ukraine, though key regional flashpoints like Taiwan were not discussed. Trump hailed the meeting as amazing and rated it a 12 on a scale of 10 of success. Usually the White House puts out the details, so they probably will. I didn't see it today. Okay, with that, I don't know if you guys seen this out there. I don't know what to make of it. I-3 Atlas Comet or spacecraft or whatever the hell's allegedly out there. Dawn of a New Age. Here's a report by Greg Reese. Let's take a look at this.
Three-Eye Atlas was discovered on July 1st by the Atlas telescope in Chile. It originated from outside our solar system and will exit permanently after perihelion today, October 30th, 2025. Three-Eye Atlas is the size of Manhattan, which makes it too big for a typical comet. Its path through our solar system has it skimming right by Venus, Mars, and Jupiter in a fine-tuned path that has a 0.005% chance of being natural. It is producing its own light, and it has a sunward-facing tail glowing in front of it, which is very unusual for a comet. Based on these details, Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb suggests the object could be artificial. But the symbolism behind it goes much further. Comets and other planetary objects in the sky have been seen as way signs for a new age, a new era, or great change for thousands of years of written history. In the Bible, there is wormwood, which appears 7 times in the Old Testament and once in Revelation. It is associated with bitterness and death. Ancient Hindu writings speak of Dhumaketu, a fiery comet marking the end of an age and the dawn of the next cosmic cycle. The Mayans wrote of the Kukulkan comet that would be seen during the shift into the New World. And the Hopi wrote of the blue star Kachina that would usher in the fifth world after a purification. The cataclysmic shifts recorded in the Epic of Gilgamesh from ancient Mesopotamia involves a passing planetary object called Nibiru. Nostradamus described comets and objects in the sky marking the birth of a new age. And the 3-eye in Three-Eye Atlas points to the third eye, the third ventricle in the brain, and the awakening of consciousness in a human being, which is what the astrology suggests as well. During its perihelion, there will be a grand water trine, a rare event where 3 planets in the 3 water signs form an equilateral triangle. Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, the 3 most influential planets, will all be in water signs. This symbolizes cleansing, purification, adaptability, and the transformative power of flow. In Western occult philosophy, comets are active agents of spiritual forces that drive human evolution by introducing new cosmic impulses into our planetary system. Overall, comets represent the creative forces that disrupt earthly routine and introduces new qualities and impulses to human evolution. Just as a woman brings a new child into the family, the comet injects a new dynamic into human spiritual growth. According to the teachings of Rudolf Steiner, as a comet passes over us, it collects harmful spiritual substances, which are then carried away and transformed. As they pass, they also introduce new spiritual energies that accelerate humanity's evolutionary process. But that's not to say it makes things easier. He said that the 1910 appearance of Halley's Comet would bring a new impulse that could deepen materialism and distract humanity from its spiritual path. And in 1913, the Federal Reserve Bank was born, the epitome of spiritual rot. Steiner taught that humanity's evolutionary leap requires the individual's deliberate choice, and that one must persist in the shadow of darkness in order to raise their consciousness. Greg Reese reporting.
An interesting report there from Greg Reese. And now, again, the background from the great Peter Duke, the Duke Report, the scientific outlook explainer, of course, from Lord Bertrand Russell. And this is the background This is the background for the technocracy. Here's the report.
So picture this. It's 1931. The world is changing faster than anyone can keep up with. And right in the middle of all that chaos, the philosopher Bertrand Russell publishes this book that is part analysis, part prophecy. It's called The Scientific Outlook. And honestly, its warning about where science could be taking us feels more relevant today than ever before. Russell just drops this bombshell right at the start. I mean, think about that for a second. In just a century and a half, science completely turned the world upside down in a way that 5,000 years of human culture hadn't. He saw this incredible, almost violent power, and it made him ask a really important question. Where is all of this taking us? To really get where he's coming from with this warning, you have to understand the man himself. See, Russell wasn't your typical academic, locked away in some ivory tower. No way. This guy was a huge public figure, and a pretty controversial one at that. I mean, the man had the credentials for sure. As a brilliant mathematician, he got the logic of science. But here's what makes him so interesting. He was also a fierce social critic and an anti-war activist. He was actually imprisoned for fighting against conscription during World War I. So he had this kind of unique dual perspective. He understood the beauty of science, but he also understood power and what it does to people. Okay, so here we get to the absolute core of his book. Russell says that science isn't just one thing, it's driven by two completely different and often competing human impulses. And depending on which one is in the driver's seat, well, the future looks radically different. Here's how he breaks it down. On one side, you've got science driven by what he calls the impulse of love. This is just the pure joy of discovery, the desire to understand the universe for its own sake. It's all about contemplation. But on the other side, you've got the impulse of power. This isn't about knowing, it's about doing. It's about the desire to manipulate and control the world around us. It's all about technique. And this is where the alarm bells start ringing for Russell. He's looking at the world in 1931 and he sees the scales tipping, and not in a good way. That pursuit of knowledge for its own sake, that impulse of love, was being shoved aside by this relentless drive for power and control. Science was becoming less about wonder and more about pure utility. He even gives it a name, scientific technique. It's this mindset where the world isn't seen for what it is, but only for what you can make it into. So a river stops being a natural wonder, it's now a source of hydroelectric power. A forest isn't a complex ecosystem, it's just a supply of lumber. Everything becomes a tool waiting to be used. And he saw a huge human cost to this shift, because when that impulse for power takes over, it just devalues everything else. All the things that actually make life rich and meaningful, love, family, art, beauty, they're all suddenly seen as secondary or even inefficient compared to the goal of control. So this leads to the most chilling part of his book. Russell takes this whole idea to its logical conclusion. He asks, okay, if this scientific technique is left unchecked, what kind of world does it ultimately create? He calls it the scientific society. And it's a vision of a world that's organized with perfect, cold, rational efficiency, all managed by a scientific elite. And on the surface, some of it sounds great. No more war, no more poverty, society is perfectly stable and secure. But then you look at the price. You have a ruling class scientifically bred to be intelligent, while a working class is bred for obedience and physical strength. Education isn't about opening minds, it's about instilling loyalty. Individuality? That's just a bug in the system that needs to be stamped out for the sake of stability. Now, if you're thinking, wow, this sounds a lot like Brave New World, you are spot on. Aldous Huxley's famous novel came out just 1 year after Russell's book. The parallels were so uncanny that Russell himself later said it proved his fears were more than an individual fantasy. He was tapping into a very real anxiety about where a purely technocratic world was heading. This all builds to Russell's final and frankly devastating conclusion. He frames this choice, the choice between science for knowledge and science for power, as a kind of profound moral bargain, a real devil's bargain. Because to get that total control, to achieve this perfectly managed, scientifically organized world, humanity would have to give up the one thing that makes us, well, human. And this is where he delivers his most powerful punch. He says that total control comes at an unthinkable price. He wrote, "The power conferred by science as a technique is only obtainable by something analogous to the worship of Satan, that is to say, by the renunciation of love." Just let that sink in. To gain the power of a god over the world, you have to renounce the very core of your humanity. But, and this is so important, despite this terrifying vision, Russell was not anti-science. Far from it. He believed that knowledge was, in its essence, a good thing. His goal was never to reject science, but to plead with us to find a better way to use its incredible power. So what was his solution? For Russell, the antidote to this tyranny of technique is wisdom. He argued that the people in power, the scientists, the political leaders, they can't just be technicians. They need to have a sense of history, an appreciation for culture, and what he called a tenderness, a real understanding of what they might be destroying in the name of progress. So really, at the end of the day, his message is actually one of hope. He believed that if we could guide our immense scientific power with a new moral outlook, one that's based on respect for humanity itself, we could be free. Not just free from the limits of nature, but free from the worst parts of ourselves. And that leaves us with his question ringing just as loud today as it did back in 1931. As we build these incredible new technologies, AI, genetic engineering, you name it, what's the impulse that's really driving us? Is it the love of knowledge and a respect for humanity? Or is it the pure, cold, unyielding pursuit of power?
Okay, the chat's over here. Plutonium says, I think he was talking about Greg Reese, isn't he, from InfoWars? He was there, but he quit probably like a year ago now. He's been out of there a while. And then Denver about this Bertrand Russell. He says he talked about the benefit of miracling up and educating to where they don't inquire about things contrary to their interests. Yeah, but that was just on his one book. He has a lot more work, right? The famous Lord Bertrand Russell, and we'll continue to cover that. But they are definitely using his work as an outline for technocracy, if nothing else, and that's tying into the escalation of nuclear threats. Are nukes even real? I don't know. There's a lot of talk out there that, hey, what they portray as global thermal nuclear war, the end of humanity, if everybody, launches their nukes all at once, it may not be reality. And I think that debate is still open here now. But here's Trump today. He says, the United States has more nuclear weapons than any other country. This is accomplished, including a complete update and renovation of existing weapons during my first term in office because of the tremendous destructive power. I hated to do it, but I had no choice. Yeah, he hated to do it, but he had no choice. Russia's second, China a distant third, but will be even within 5 years. Because of other countries' testing programs, I have instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. That process will begin immediately. So your president of peace there, cranking up atomic bomb tests. It all leads to nowhere good, man.
Have to do with others. They seem to all be nuclear testing. We have more nuclear weapons than anybody. We don't do testing. We've halted it many years ago. But with others doing testing, I think it's appropriate that we do also.
Any details around the testing, sir? Like where, when?
It'll be announced. We have.
So everybody's blowing up everything. It's appropriate we do too. What the hell? Pentagon's Doge unit takes charge of major U.S. military drone overhaul. The Pentagon's Doge unit is spearheading an overhaul of the U.S. military's drone program, aiming to simplify procurement, boost domestic production, and purchase tens of thousands of low-cost drones in the coming months. According to a report out of Reuters, In July, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth vowed to, quote, cut red tape and assert U.S. drone dominance by approving hundreds of domestically produced drone models and launching training programs to prepare forces for, quote, drone wars. The previously undisclosed role of the Department of DOGE gives the unit significant influence over U.S. military drone program, which President Trump declared a national defense, national war, really, right, priority in a June executive order. So technocracy's running the drone program. I don't know what else we could want out of life. Moscow restarts military flights to Syria air base amid efforts to strengthen Damascus alliance. I think we saw somebody reported in the chat a couple days ago. Well, now it's it's confirmed over there in Syria. And a brace yourself trigger warning. I know it's heartbreaking for me too. It's being reported now that France's President Macron, his approval rating is now at a record low of 11%, a 50-year low for any French president. I know, I'm saddened and shocked by this report as well. 11% approval rating there for Macron in France. And it's being reported by Russian state TV here now that there's a giant blackout in Ukraine due to Russian attacks, crippling the Ukrainian energy infrastructure. As we've been reporting, they're doing this back and forth attacks on energy infrastructure. Ukraine is attacking Russia, oil refining capacity, attacking refineries and the like, and Russia is now attacking Ukraine's energy infrastructure. But don't you worry, I'm sure somehow, some way, American taxpayers will pay for the whole damn thing. And another sad report here, not really, because these people are scum of the earth, your royalty out of England. Buckingham Palace announces Prince Andrew will be evicted from the royal residence and have his titles removed. He will now be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. All for a Democrat hoax about Epstein. I know, strange, right? You would think old Prince Andrew would have a bone to pick with Trump about this, but apparently not. And then this was a report sent to me by Ruckus. Texas police showed up at a home of a disabled U.S. veteran without a warrant after he made comments about aardvark community and aardvark land. Let's watch this report. I'm glad Texas is fighting antiseptic behavior.
Try that again.
We're here because of the comments you made online about the Jewish community.
So what?
No, I'm saying,
I have a freedom of speech, dude.
Yeah, no, we get that. We get that.
We gotta make sure that you're not. Do you have a warrant?
No, that's why we're
here. Okay, you see that sign? Yeah. See how it says no soliciting? What you're doing is basically soliciting. You understand that, right? Yeah. It means you're not welcomed here. Okay. Bye. Stay off the lawn, please. This is what they're doing, guys. You make comments about the Jews online, they'll fucking show up at your door.
Indeed, it is crazy. So don't be antiseptic as we continue to warn you here at Weaponized News. Court okays Netanyahu's request to cancel testimony scheduled for Sunday. And that's the times of aardvark land. Oh yeah, by the way, our shadow president over there in aardvark land, he has a big corruption trial going on right now. And we're just supposed to say he's the greatest genocidal, homicidal maniac in the history of the world. But his own country's being antiseptic, apparently, to him, but they found a way to work around it. A scheduled hearing for Bibby's criminal trial on Sunday has been canceled, and Bibby will now testify on Tuesday or Wednesday. But he'll cook up some other excuse, maybe bomb Iran again to get out of it. You know what I mean? That's been the trend here that we're seeing. IDF chief Ayal Zamir says we're operating on all fronts, and in some will soon act with greater force than ever in the past 2 years. What is he referring to here now? Greater Aardvark Land project, obviously. Amazon and Google deploy covert linking mechanism to notify Aardvark Land via coded money transfers when foreign authorities request Aardvark Land data, even if the country issued a gag order preventing them from revealing that they provided such information. Nothing shady going on there. And I did see Denver mentioning in the comments that Aardvark Land is or China is getting much of their technology from Aardvark Land. I would not doubt it one little bit. I would not doubt it one little bit, as they're all in bed together, aren't they here now? And we have the levels we keep talking about here, the different levels. On one level, the national governments are at odds with each other and want to kill each other for resources and have no problem sending off poor people to go do that deed. But then at the higher level, they're all in bed together, Operation Lockstep, as we saw during the medical intervention period. I think that made it pretty self-evident, and they're all dealing behind the scenes to depopulate. Here is, what do we got here? Well, there was big antiseptic behavior there in Aardvark Land. Trigger warning here now. 200,000 ultra-Orthodox men block entry to Jerusalem in protest against serving in the IDF. Yeah, I know. It's shocking, and it's triggering to me too. Here's video of massive crowds of ultra-Orthodox Aardvarks protesting against military conscription in Jerusalem. And so they all need to be sanctioned and droned. They're essentially all Hamas. So there you go. You could see a very large crowd there of antiseptic aardvarks in Aardvark Land protesting military service, i.e. Hamas. War Minister Aardvark Katz says many challenges still lie ahead after Gaza ceasefire, like stopping. They have this problem of pulling the trigger, you see, and their definition of ceasefire is not the same as ours, apparently. At a graduation ceremony for Aardvark Army cadets at the officer school, Baghdad 1, Katz said many challenges still lie ahead after the current Gaza ceasefire. He added that Aardvark Land still faces multiple fronts that require continued action. He reiterated the government's core objective, saying, "We will not stop until we realize the overarching goals we set before us, the demilitarization of Gaza and the dismantling of Hamas's weapons, along with the complete destruction of the terror tunnels. He also said that Aardvarkland will insist on full implementation of the agreement and will not stop until we return home for burial in Aardvarkland all the remains of fallen hostages, including commanders and soldiers. Katz also warned Ansarallah of the Houthis that, quote, the Houthis will pay a heavy price for their attempts to strike the Aardvark home front over the past 2 years. We have not said the last word on the Houthis. Aardvarkland artillery shellings in southern Gaza are being reported today. That's a ceasefire for you. And then Aardvark banker, Aardvarkland finance minister, Smotrich, says, quote, in its next session, the Higher Planning Council will approve the construction of 1,973 settlement units in the West Bank, i.e. Judea and Samaria. Since the beginning of the year, we have approved the establishment of about 30,000 settlement units in occupied West Bank. They're taking all of that, you see, with or without the approval of Trump. Everything is cut off. Nearly 1,000 new barriers obstruct life in the West Bank here now. They're going to annex it, okay? Despite what Trump says. Close to 1,000 new barriers have been set up by the Aardvark military in the occupied West Bank since the start of the genocide in Gaza on October 7th, 2023. So they're bombing the hell out of southern Lebanon continually. The UN interim forces in Lebanon say, UNIFIL says, UNIFIL expresses deep concerns at an Aardvark armed incursion into southern Lebanon. They're all Hamas too, or I guess Hezbollah in Lebanon, right? Right, okay. Statement by Hezbollah, quoting them now, they say, the criminal Zionist entity continues its series of crimes on Lebanese soil, deepening its incursions and violations of Lebanon's sovereignty and the sanctity of its citizens, with complete disregard for agreements, understandings, and international law. At dawn today, the enemy penetrated deep into the border town of Bailda, stormed the municipal building, and executed in cold blood the municipal employee there named Ahmed while he slept in his bed, a crime that confirms the brutality and bloodlust of the enemy, which kills without any justification. Well, he's a damn Hezbollah, right? So, yeah, that's going on. That's going on right now. As in the West Bank, they're destroying all of their agricultural production capacity. They're approving all of these new settlements, de facto annexing it. Whether officially, they are unofficially annexing it. So, but what the hell? It's a ceasefire there. You know what I mean? I think we should be concerned about this, though. This is unacceptable antiseptic behavior there, you see. And with that, let's wrap up this Thursday edition of Weaponized News. Thank you to everybody in the comments there. In the comments, just looking at them a few. Well, let's go to the channels as is customary here. Let's go to old Odysee. How are we doing on the Odysee? We're the regulars. Gurr, shout out to Gurr, Highland, John. Thank you guys for commenting and tuning in on the Odysee. America has Barack and Big Mike, France and Emmanuel, and old Macron and his wife. Is this a trend? I don't know. There's people that claim every other person is every other quote elite or celebrity is some kind of transgender. I don't know if I would take it that far, but these occultists are into weird stuff, man, and they get off on deceiving the public. We know that much. As far as every other one of them is a transgender married to a trans, I don't know, man. I'm not going down that rabbit hole, but many people on the internet do that I've seen. What else do we got here? Let's see. John said, Michael Yon made a great comment about Trump saying he tried to kill you with the miracle. Why would you support the guy who tried to kill you? He's still trying. Yeah. Yeah. MAGA is blind. You see, MAGA is blind, sadly. MAGA's blind to this. It was all a secret plan, and he put vitamins in it. And if he didn't do it, then they would have kept the economy still be closed. You see, no proof to any of this. All the proof that he's 100% on board with Operation. He still brags to this day that Operation Warp Speed saved millions with no evidence, no proof. It doesn't matter. Hey, there's an 8,000% increase in threats against law enforcement. Where's that? They just make up whatever, dude. You know what I mean? But yeah, I do agree with your comment there, Sean, and Michael Yon's comment as well. See things for what they are. I mean, it's self-evident, but MAGA has the scales on their eyes because Trump cast that dark occultist spell on them. We're trying to help you see through it here at Weaponized News. Calling it out as it is and not living in some Riddler delusion on the fringes of the internet. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in on the Odysee. Thank you for tuning in on the X, the Kick, the Facebook, the Twitch, the YouTube, and the Rumble. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Hopefully I don't know what Ruckus's plans are for tomorrow, but I'm going to try to wrangle them in to do a little bit of show. I'm going to have to cut the show short tomorrow, though, because I do have family obligations to take the kids trick-or-treating. You know what I mean? But there will be a Weaponized News show tomorrow. Again, be warned, it'll probably only be 45 minutes, an hour, and hopefully we can be blessed with a Ruckus, but he may have other plans as well. So anyway, just announcing that live, putting Ruckus on the spot. Request for his appearance on Weaponized News tomorrow. We shall see. If not, I do understand, especially being on Halloween. And with that, as always, everybody do your own research. Peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Thursday evening, and we'll be back here tomorrow on Halloween, October 31st, one day away from snap cancellations and potential food riots. We'll report here as it goes down at Weaponized News. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your evening.